let's take a look now. Everyone in the world now knows that there was 100% a human trafficking operation where Jeffrey Epstein was procuring girls for wealthy and powerful people. Everybody knows that. Friend of the show, Kash Patel, let's see what he got out of it.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the file?
In the case file.
You don't have to be the director of the FBI to see that this guy's trafficking women. He's trafficking underage women. You don't have to be so Kash Patel's a liar. He's a big, fat liar. He's a liar and he should resign and step down because he's lying.
And there we have it. Okay. Well, so with that in mind, let's go on ahead to my next clip here to, again, just prove the point and drive it home.
Party or at any party. Were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the
clock.
Stop the clock.
The legislation. This is
ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied.
Oh, whoa. Don't you ever accuse her of a crime, even though we just saw her commit a crime. Don't accuse her of what you just saw. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe your ears. Just believe what she says. Just believe what she says. Leads me into another issue here. So we have this letter, right? The letter that he wrote, potentially, to, what's his name? Larry Nassar. Larry Nassar was in prison for raping and molesting hundreds of girls. Okay. He was some sort of gymnastic doctor. He worked with little girls who were doing gymnastics and amongst other things, but nonetheless, it doesn't really matter. He's really of little importance, and I don't really want to give him much of a platform because he really doesn't deserve it. So without much more mention of the guy, Jeffrey apparently sent him a letter saying that, we shared the same fondness of young girls, and so does our president. And at the time, Donald Trump was the president. So it would make sense that he was talking about President Donald Trump. So it's weird. It's a weird letter. It made me question a lot of things about, okay, did he actually commit suicide then? Did he not? The DOJ came out on X and reported that it was debunked. They said it was fake. And then I thought it was really funny because they said that just because the DOJ releases something doesn't mean that it's a fact. Pardon me, but I would like it. Actually, I would appreciate it, and also it would make a lot more sense if you would actually only post things that are a fact. However, I don't know that we can trust you to do that. So maybe you should just post everything so that we can decide for ourselves. Maybe that's a better idea. Anyway, they determined that it was debunked, that he didn't actually send that letter. And obviously somebody wrote it. And why did they write it? Why? Did they want it to seem like he actually committed suicide? And why did they want it to seem like he actually committed suicide? Or did he, because those are the only options. Either he actually wrote it, or somebody wrote that wanting to make it seem like he committed suicide. And then we don't know if he actually wrote that or not. We don't, because just because the FBI says that he didn't, so moving on, we're going to start with, so we have Dr. Jason Graham. Okay, if we remember from our last episode where we talked about Ivana Trump falling down the stairs and her death being ruled due to a trauma from her torso area from falling down the stairs. Okay, and if we remember, the chief medical examiner at that time was Dr. Jason K. Graham. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this is in 2022, and Jeffrey died in 2019, August 10th to be exact. So they say. So they say. If we look here in the email, we have Mike. I just tried calling, but I realized it's very late. Moments ago, I spoke with an individual at the office of the chief medical examiner, Dr. Jason Graham. He said his office was in touch with the family today. I believe Mark is Jeffrey's brother, by the way. He had the understanding a pathologist was lined up for tomorrow, but based in the newer understanding that you conveyed that more time is needed, they're prepared to delay the autopsy, which was otherwise planned for tomorrow morning. They conveyed that permitting a pathologist is a courtesy they extend in this type of situation, and that an additional day or two will not have an effect in their ability to evaluate the cause and manner of death. Accordingly, he asked that you please contact him tonight or tomorrow morning to arrange logistics of pathologists who ultimately will join Dr. Graham's email list. Okay, so here we go. Michael Miller to J. Graham. Dr. Graham, my name is Mike Miller, and I am part of Jeffrey Epstein's legal team. Just a quick note to confirm that we have lined up Michael Baden to observe the autopsy tomorrow, and bearing any traffic delays, he will be there by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Please call me if you have any questions tonight or tomorrow morning. Mike, my cell number is blah, blah. And then here we go. Thanks. We spoke with Dr. Graham at OCME. And he said that he would set up a phone call between us and Dr. Roman tomorrow so we can address these issues with her then. So he's working for the medical examiner, the official ones, and he has Dr. Roman working alongside him. So Dr. Roman, as we'll get into, she is the one who actually signs her name and signs off on a lot of the medical examination, pathology, autopsy report for Jeffrey. And Dr. Graham is involved for what reason, I don't know. It seems I haven't been able to come to any sort of idea as to why he's involved in this. Now, keep in mind these dates. So this is back in 2019, and then somehow he becomes the chief medical examiner. Because right now, he's not the chief medical examiner in 2019 for this situation. It was actually, let me pull it up here. All right, so the New York City's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, conducted the autopsy on Jeffrey Epstein. So there's a common theme here that I want to point out. I've started to notice that there's some key players that happen to show up more than once in significant events. Now, is it entirely possible that people could be at a significant event more than once in their life? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not throwing that completely out the window, but is it also a little bit weird? Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a little bit weird that you were involved in Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy, yet not listed on any of the official documentation, at least that we can see on redacted, if you are on it. And then all of a sudden you become the new medical chief examiner for the state of New York immediately after. It's almost as if you were doing someone a favor, or you were proving, your worth or your trust in some sort of, I don't know, should we call it a cover up? Is that what that is? Maybe. I wonder. That's what I'm questioning. We have you involved in this, and then all of a sudden you get a promotion. And then while you're in that promotion, now that you have a higher status, you are now the medical examiner for Donald Trump's ex-wife, who fell down the stairs and died from trauma to the torso. It's weird that you happen to be the medical examiner every time someone dies in a weird, very questionable way, or a very rare way. If you look at my previous episode, you will see that where I talked about how rare it is to even die by falling down the stairs, let alone from trauma to the torso. So anyway, let's get into these files. So I can show you what I am talking about. So here we go. Here's the autopsy report. And what do we see here? This report is reviewed by Dr. Jason K. Graham, First Deputy Chief Medical Examiner. Look at that. Interesting. Very interesting. Because when we scroll up here to the actual autopsy report, he's not listed anywhere. We have autopsy performed by Kristen Roman. Sorry, I think I misspoke earlier when I said Robin. It's Roman. So we have the date of the autopsy listed as 8/11. Okay, because remember it was delayed. But yeah, he's not listed on here anywhere. Unless, of course, like I said, there's a lot of people that are redacted. Look at this. Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Oh, look at that. Oh, I didn't notice that. I did not notice that. Look at that date, guys. March 2nd, 2022. Look at here. Look at that. That's interesting. That is quite interesting. I never noticed that. That's what I'm saying. You go through these files and, sometimes it takes more than once to look at things. But yeah, so it's no wonder it's look at this, approved March. So it didn't even get approved until he was look at that. Crazy. Crazy. Here's another thing I want to point out. You see this? This is his medical number, or what's it called? Let me see if I can find it down here. It's the medical exam number. So do you notice any difference in the numbers here? So this is the one that Kristen performed. And we have M1901942. Okay? Go up here. Where's the 0? Where's this? It's M1919432. And I noticed that. Those are some of the inconsistencies that I've been noticing in these files, is that some of the paperwork, and then in addition to that, there's some that they, like, look at this, it's the case number, and they have it redacted. But in other areas, they don't have it redacted. So yeah, as we keep scrolling down here, you will see on the report, this report is reviewed by Dr. Jason K. Graham, the First Deputy Chief Medical Examiner, electronically signed on August 27, 2019. Okay? So why is he reviewing it? Why? Why him? It's interesting that he's placed in these situations. And I really do I'm bringing this up for a reason because it's a common theme. All right. So moving on from Dr. Graham, which he is listed in here multiple times as being involved in here. Like this, they have like, why does this need to be redacted? Why does this need to be redacted? Why can't we see who's performing these reports? And we're supposed to trust you. We're supposed to trust the people that are. I mean, you release the victims' names, but we can't see who's doing the forensic reports. None of it. Just interesting. So that they blocked out the case number up there, but then didn't block this one out. Is it because maybe it's a different one and they caught it and didn't want people to see that? I don't know. See? Look at this. Examined by doctor, redacted. Why does that need to be redacted? Why does that need to be redacted? Why? I don't understand. Especially when they had no problem listing other doctors, that's fine. But for some reason, we can't list that one. See, look at this one's fine. We can see that. But for whatever reason, we can't see. Now this is a drawing of the rope that he supposedly hung himself with. Here we go, redacted again. This is another thing that I found interesting. So it says, I am the brother of the person whose body was removed to the office of chief medical examiner from such and such, New York, 8/10/19. That I have seen the photo of the said deceased and believe that the body recorded at said office as. So it says, I'm Epstein, residing at redacted West Palm Beach, Florida. You know. So it says he's seen the photo and believe that to be the body of the recording. So that means did he claimed him without actually physically being there. They showed him a photo. He's like, yeah, that's my brother. Okay. So we don't have anybody who like physically went there and was like, yeah, okay, that's physically, yes, I'm physically here. I could physically see for a fact that's my brother. A little weird. I mean, I understand he's probably, he's not there, he's in a different state or whatever, but fly up. Fly up. If my brother died and I had to claim the body, I would go claim the body. That's just me, though. All right. See, here we go. It's just weird. Like, look at this. So his brother's claiming him supposedly, which it's like, it doesn't make sense because didn't you say that you saw him from a photo? And then they have a signature here, but it's redacted. So it almost makes it seem like they forged his signature. Weird. All of it's just so weird. And then, so he gets to the emergency department, and we're going to get into this because this doctor, I have some questions about this doctor as well. But he said, ligature markings of the neck were observed by Dr. Daher. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. If it's Daher or Dajer. I think OCME, a completed ME clinical summary worksheet, EMS, ACR, and ED notes. These were received except the ACR. An email was sent to evidence request. So we have the doctor at the ER, which is this doctor right here. I'm going to call him Dr. D. Dr. D is to submit to the OCME. Look at that. Okay. So, as we're now aware of doctors being at more than one significant event, things that you'd think you wouldn't, it would be, if I was a doctor, let me just put it this way. If I was a doctor, a medical examiner, and I had to be responsible for examining a very high profile case like Jeffrey Epstein, and then be examining the president of the at the time, ex-president of the United States' wife, ex-wife, right before he's supposed to go to litigation. Like, how do you have so many coincidences and you are involved in every single one? Weird. And why does it look like they're trying to hide people's names on the papers? Weird. Just saying. Weird. Weird. Okay? So, moving on. And keep that in mind. I want you to keep all this in mind. We have Dr. Graham, and now we're going to move on to Dr. D, who, you guessed it, was also at more than one significant event. Go figure. Go figure. Okay? We got him at, I looked him up here. So he was the Dr. D, if you're not aware. Let me see if I can. James checked into the Manhattan OCME facility. They get checked in at 15:06 or 3:06 p.m. And which is kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting because, and now I don't know if this was just her department for x-rays or what. It says he's at the mortuary at 1:24 in the afternoon. Because, yeah, he was pronounced dead at like 7:36 in the morning. And then it says that he's at the mortuary. Check-in brought from, 1:24. So we got 7:36, we got 1:24. And also, guess what, folks? I'm going to be building a timeline because these times really don't, there's a lot of contradictions in the times as well. The undersigned discussed the case with Dr. D of the ED at New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital. I attempted to call, yada, yada, yada. It is now almost 10 a.m. He was pronounced deceased at 7:36 in the morning. Okay. The next report we have here is body pickup. So they picked up his body at 10:05 in the morning. And then they have reason. Paperwork not ready, still on the floor. I don't know what that means. But we have, so he dies at 7:36 in the morning. Or he's pronounced dead at 7:36 by Dr. DeHare. Okay? Antonio DeHare. It's almost 3 hours, so 2.5 hours later, they finally pick up his body. 2.5 hours. So he's laying there for 2.5 hours. Doing what? I don't know. I guess being dead. Okay? So we have 2.5 hours at the hospital, dead because of paperwork. Oh, we all know that how paperwork goes, It was just the paperwork. We can't physically pick up a body, put it in a car until we have the paperwork. Yeah. Okay. So let's just say that's true. Okay, so we're moving on. And it must be, let's see. So we got met at scene before they could be assigned. So I guess there's still, is this transportation? I don't know who this is. There must be the transport. This is at 10:25. And then we have, again, I don't know. Their notes are high profile. 10:35 now. So we are now 3 hours past, the 3 hours have gone by now before we get to the mortuary. 3 hours. Okay? So I would like to know. Why it took 3 hours and what was happening during those 3 hours from 7:30 to 10:30. Was it even 10:30? I think, let's see. From 7:30 to Oh, no. Not, no. 7:30, he didn't get to the mortuary until, this was the mortuary at the hospital at 1:30. So he was at the hospital from 7:30 until 1:30 in the afternoon. So 7:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. That's 6 hours. 6 hours. 6 hours before he got brought to pathology. Do you know what you can do to a body in 6 hours? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Seriously though. I mean, it's like, what? Weird. Again, it's like, what? And it's because of paperwork, and it's because of, like, what? I have questions. Could you elaborate further on the form, please? Could you elaborate some? I stopped to get a snack. Joey was hungry, okay? We were on our way, and we had to stop. We had to get, the gas light was on. I had to go. I had to get gas. I got a rumbly in my tummy, and I had to go use the bathroom. Something. Give me something. Because we're just sitting here like, okay, so for 6 hours, he's just locked out of CMS for this case, unable to document notes. And this is entered in by a Corrine Armbrussai. I don't know, I could be saying that wrong. Corrine. But this person is doing the x-ray. She did her job. If it's a she, sorry, I don't know. But they did their job, and they can't document the notes. So they documented here that they can't document the notes. Case will be handled tomorrow per Dr. Graham, Sloan, and Sampson. Cambrosi, they signed. Or Ambrose. C. Ambrosi. Case will be handled tomorrow per Doctors Graham, Sloan, and Sampson. So what that tells me is like, hey, I did my work. I'm unable to document the work that I did, but Dr. Graham's going to take over. Why is Dr. Graham taking over? Why is, and here's the thing, if Dr. Graham was the one signing the medical examiner report, if Dr. Graham was the one publicly stating that he was the one taking over and looking at things and being in charge and reviewing things, then, I would be like, okay, well, I mean, he took full responsibility for that, so yeah, sure. What I find to be odd is that you have other people's names being put down. You have Kristen on there and not Jason Graham. But then in small fine print at the bottom, Jason Graham reviewed. This was approved. Then you have in the autopsy, you have someone writing out like, oh yes, it looks like this and that, and this was broken, and that looks like this, and then a signature that's redacted. Why are the medical examiner's signatures being redacted? I would like to know. I think everybody would like to know. I'm just curious. Like, you talk about being, it's hilarious. We are the most transparent presidency in history. Yeah. Okay. How about you transparent these redactions? How about that? You want to be transparent. I don't know if you even realize what transparent means. Do you realize what transparent means? Because that is like these giant black bars over names that are doctors who are involved in Jeffrey's autopsy. That's not transparent at all. It's weird is what it is. It's suspicious is what that is. And it doesn't feel right. Okay? For anybody looking at that, they go, that's weird. That doesn't feel right. Why can't we see that? Yeah. You would not be wrong for feeling that way. Let me tell you. You are not wrong for looking at that and thinking that's suspicious. So let's get back to Dr. Daher. He was the one who pronounced Jeffrey dead at the hospital. So I found it a little suspicious because he got to the hospital at like 7:25 and then he was pronounced dead at 7:36. So like they were able to determine within like 10 minutes that he was dead. Like that they're like, "Oh, we're marking him deceased. He's dead." Okay. So yeah, so within 10 minutes he's pronounced deceased, and I'm not saying that that can't be, a thing. And if he really was deceased, and who knows for how long. I mean, they found him in the cell at 6:30 in the morning, and they're unable to determine how long he had been laying there like that because nobody was checking on him. Guards were asleep or looking up stuff on the internet. And oh yeah, all the cameras were out. All the cameras were out. How weird. That's not a common thing that happens in prisons. I don't know if you know that, but it's actually really rare for something like that to happen. They almost always have security cameras on at all times. I mean, it is a prison. So, weird. But yeah, they don't know how long he was laying there. So, it is possible that he got to the hospital and it was just like so obvious that, he's, after 10 minutes, they were able to make that determination. And I have there's some information in the files that makes me question that, and we will get to that in a later episode. But for now, let's focus on Dr. Daher. Remember how I was saying there's people that somehow manage to find themselves in crisis situations constantly. We've seen that in the past too. We've seen that with George Zinn. Okay, anybody remember the name George Zinn? If you don't remember, he was the guy who hopped up at him right here. He was the guy who, when Charlie Kirk was shot, he stood up and said, it was me. And then they went to go and arrest him until they realized that it actually wasn't him. And he said he was just doing that to distract from the real shooter. Let me tell you.
He was an eyewitness to 9/11, which is weird, this guy, the old guy. And then he was arrested for threatening to bomb the Salt Lake City Marathon finish line in 2013. This is George Zinn, Z-I-N-N. There's so many different things, and I get it.
Believe me, I'm always the last person to be like, okay, buddy.
That's the odds of that
But
are in the billions.
They said that's like 0.00007% likelihood that this guy was there for 9/11. He was there for Charlie Kirk's murder, and there was a third component. He was there for some.
I think he was arrested for terrorism, allegedly.
Listen, if there's anybody that doesn't go down the rabbit hole, it's me. This guy's got some explaining to do.
He was an eye.
So there you have it, folks. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, it's just weird. I don't understand how we get. I mean, how are you at 9/11? Which is crazy. So you were there for 9/11. I think he gave like an interview while he was there as well. Like you weren't just there, but you were giving interview. And then you just so happen to be at the Charlie Kirk assassination in Utah as well. And then not only are you there, it's one thing to just be there, which that in and of itself is also extremely rare, but you are in the news about being there again, whether it be because you are trying to distract from the shooter or whatever, be a decoy. Candace calls him decoy boy. Or you are giving interview eyewitness statements to the news, to the press. It's just interesting. It's quite interesting is all I'm saying. Think about that. How interesting that is. It's weird. Like, why are you... That's the theme that I want to show you, because this is something that I've been noticing, is that there's certain people who are surrounding this Epstein story that are also connected to other stories, like significant events. And like I said before, yes, is it possible for somebody to be at more than one crazy event in their lifetime? Yes, it is possible. I would argue that it's not that possible, though. Probably more rare than getting struck by lightning. Just saying. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So here we go. Moving on. So Dr. DeHare, he was also, also at 9/11, just like George Zinn. How weird that both him and George Zinn were at 9/11. Dr. DeHare was a doctor there. It says 20 years ago, as sirens pierced the calm New York City morning and Americans struggled to absorb the TV images of smoke wafting from the World Trade Center, emergency medicine physicians mobilized to do what they trained for, save lives. Okay, so here we go. At the hospital closest to the Twin Towers, at the NYU downtown hospital, same hospital. Actually, I'm not sure if it's the same hospital. I don't think it's the same hospital where Jeffrey was, but because there's two very close by to where this happened. Tony DeHare heard an overhead page for respiratory therapy, which was odd because as the attending physician on duty in the emergency department, he usually sent out those pages. Okay. And then 2 nurses taking a smoking break heard the plane hit. All right. And here he is, Dr. Tony DeHare. This is also the same doctor who signed, he just so happened to be there when Jeffrey made his way to the hospital, and he was the one who pronounced Jeffrey deceased at 7:36 in the morning. Weird. It's weird. I'm just saying, like, you're in multiple events. Okay? Then, so I started looking into him. I'm like, why are you at so many crazy events? That's weird. So we'll go here. He's also at, look at this. New York doctor spends yet another medical crisis. Look at that. Yet another. It's almost like the news is getting tired of reporting. Yet another medical crisis, this guy. You know, it's almost like you don't want to be around this guy. Because every time, I mean, he's always involved in some sort of crisis. I'd be like, dude, get away from me. You're a bad omen. Like, my God. It's insane. Like, what is the deal with you that you just so happen to find yourself in these situations? I don't know. But regardless, let's look here. We are let's pull it up. New York doctor spends yet another medical crisis in the emergency room. For Dr. Antonio DeHare from New York, the coronavirus pandemic is not the first massive medical crisis spent in an emergency room. He was there for 9/11 and before that, the AIDS pandemic. Look at that. He's there for everything. Weird. So then, like I said, I'm looking into him, and it turns out, so he's married. He has 3 kids. Okay. And I think right here, I don't know if it was in this article or a different article, but we'll get into that in a later episode. But his wife, it turns out that his wife actually, so she's from France. And I believe in an interview he was giving, he was talking about how he lived in France for 5 years. He was also involved in being a doctor during a prominent war. So he was, working for the military at one point, and he spent some time in Nicaragua. So I don't know. He has an interesting background. Let's just say that. He has a very interesting background. Mark was hiring his own pathologist to look at Jeffrey. So the pathologist we have lined up for tomorrow is Michael Baden. Well, who is Michael Baden exactly? Okay, let's go on ahead and pull that up here. Dr. Michael Baden. Okay, look, he wrote a book, American Autopsy. Dr. Michael Baden is the former chief medical examiner of New York City. Oh, wow, look at that. Look at that. It's a common theme here, these people. Okay. And past co-director of New York State Police Medical Legal Investigations Unit. He received a BS degree from the City College of New York and an MD degree from New York University School of Medicine. He trained in internal medicine and pathology at Bellevue Hospital Medical Center, where he was an intern, yada, 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 yada. Okay. He was also, he has been a consultant. So look at this. He has been a consultant to the FBI, the Veterans Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the DEA, and the United States Department of Justice. So the DOJ, the FBI, the DEA, he has been a consultant. So if they need information, he consults with them. Okay. Interesting that you would be the pathologist that Jeff's brother hires to investigate the body. Interesting. Color in custody from the forensic pathologist whose work changed the course of the George Floyd, Eric Garner, and Michael Brown cases. Now, I can't speak for all of those cases, but I do know that in the George Floyd case, there was the autopsy that was conducted by the state or the government that said that it was due to a drug overdose. And then Dr. Baden's report came out and said that it was from asphyxiation. I don't know if you guys remember the case of George Floyd, and if you don't, then feel free to look it up. But essentially, he was a person of color who was with an altercation with the police, and Derek Chauvin, the police officer at the time, was kneeling on the back of him while he was handcuffed. Now, whether or not he died from asphyxiation, I mean, we all saw the video, so I'll let you make that determination on what you think. That's not what this channel is about, really. I don't want to make this about whether or not George Floyd was asphyxiated or not. I want you to look at the video and decide for yourself on what you saw and not let other people determine it for you, i.e. the FBI. But with that being said, he is constantly in these cases where there is a argument, is my point. It's not so much whether or not he's right or wrong in the argument. It's the fact that there's always an argument. He was also involved in the the O.J. Simpson trial examination, and he's always on the opposing side. So here's what it leads me to question, and this is just a question. Is he planted opposition? Could he be controlled opposition to make people think that Jeffrey is because here's the thing, is I don't know if you know this, but his report, it contradicts what the FBI examiner report came out and said. They said that he died by suicide, and Dr. Baden is saying that they need to that it needs to be reinvestigated, that he doesn't think he died by suicide based off of his private investigation, his pathology report. So that leads me to two conclusions. Either he is controlled opposition to make it look like there is two different sides of a death. So if Jeffrey died, there is one pathologist report saying that he does not believe that he died by suicide, and then he gave his reasons why. And then there is the FBI's examiner, Dr. Graham, who is saying that it was definitely a suicide. And then even their office did come out and say that they, in response to Dr. Baden's report, that they are sticking by their original report that he did die by suicide, and that's going to be their conclusion, despite there being a private investigator saying that they really should reevaluate it. So, like I said, that leads me to believe either he is controlled opposition it's a psyop to make people think that he is in fact dead, but he either did commit suicide or didn't commit suicide. and he's actually alive. So he's planted to give people the illusion that no, he definitely did die, but he didn't kill himself. And the reason why I believe the FBI would do something like that, or the CIA, is because then it gives you the illusion. You're now not arguing about whether or not if he's even alive or not. You're now arguing about the fact on how he died. So it's either that or he did die, and it really is a question of and this Dr. Baden, who's been involved in several of these high profile cases, and don't get me wrong, some people can make their way up the ladder to the point where they're always involved in these cases. So it's not to say that there's anything inherently suspicious about this particular examination. It just seems to be a little suspicious to me that every single time you are in one of these, there's never a case where, or at least that I've seen, I'm sure that there might be one out there, but in these high profile prolific cases, it's a complete opposition to what the official report is saying every time. It seems as though purposely make the masses cast doubt upon what is happening, but I almost feel as though that's intentional to be a distraction from something else. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts. These are the questions I have. Could it be that? I don't know. We may not ever know. But I'm going to keep looking. The thing about these files is, as I go in and as I get deeper and I keep finding these inconsistencies or these patterns or these weird similarities, it's starting to draw a picture here. And so what I plan on doing moving forward is I'm going to create a series. I will title this one Episode 1 because, or I don't know, maybe it'll be Episode 3. We'll start it with Episode 3. But I'm basically going to have a series where we continue going down this path to figure out what exactly happened here and what exactly has been covered up and why has it been covered up. Because we deserve to know. We're not cheap. Tell me what you think down below. Do you think that Dr. Baden is controlled opposition, trying to make people pick a side between murder and suicide? Or do you think that Jeffrey really did die and it was by suicide? Or Jeffrey really died and it was from murder, like Dr. Baden is suggesting? So yeah, we will get into that and more on the next episode. I hope to see you there, and I hope you guys take care. Okay.